Generative AI is everywhere. It's made unbelievable, beautiful images, and it's also made some horrendous and stupid images. Some people love it, some people hate it, but one thing's for sure, it's here to stay. As a filmmaker, I was intrigued by what it was capable of, so I created a short film using only AI tools. You can check it out right here. Now, if you're interested in making your own film using these tools, stick around and I'll show you the tools and the workflow I use to make my short. In episode 1, we're going to break down your script, cast your movie, and scout your locations. In episode 2, we're going to storyboard your film and assemble it in the timeline. And lastly, in episode 3, we're going to shoot your film. All right, let's get into it with today's episode. Episode 3, we're going to shoot your film. Alrighty, so we are now ready to do what, in my opinion, is the most fun part of the whole AI filmmaking process, which is taking your images, your story, and making it come to life. There are lots of different programs that do this. There is Kling, there is Runway, there is Veo 3, which is part of Google. There's a Grok, there's lots of different things. Personally, for my project, I found the two that I enjoyed using the most was Kling and Veo 3. I found that Kling was the best for like movement. I love that it has a beginning and end frame, so it allows you to really control kind of a shot as a whole. And then I also found that Veo was the best for doing things like dialogue. Now, I will say this, since I created this, things have changed in the AI world. I was using Kling 2.6. There's now Kling 3.0. So the model is improving. Now, with that being said, the technique that I use still is useful because the model has improved, but the way that you accomplish it is still the same. So we're going to start with our scene 1. This is the shot of our hero walking through the office. And what I tried with this first one is I actually tried to give it a start and end frame. So we have the start frame of the feet and then the end frame of here. And I just said, let's do a cinematic Steadicam shot of a man in a dark suit. I explain the way that I want him to perform. He's nervous. He's walking down the aisle. The camera pulls back at a pace of the subject walking. And, I even describe what the workers are doing off to the side and ask for it to create a shot of that. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here's the shot. It's not terrible. You do notice that this there's some weird morphing going on over here. It's kind of hallucinating in that way. So, that's not going to work. But it's kind of the right idea. So let's go on to the next one. Let's see what we did here. So, I try it again. Whoops, let's press play. Let's see what that looks like. So he's walking forward. Again, a lot of morphing going on. I think probably what was happening was there was too many variations from the first frame and the last frame had discrepancies. So for example, in the first frame, this area probably looked like this man, and in the second frame, it was a woman. So it's trying to extrapolate what changed there, and so it's kind of hallucinating. So I kind of learned in this shot that this is just not going to work. So I bail on that. And then in this shot, let's see what I used here. I used a start and end frame, and I'm pushing in on our character here. So let's look how that turned out. He looks right at the end, but again, I'm seeing a lot of hallucinations here. It's trying to extrapolate the first frame and the last frame. It's just not succeeding on this. So, again, sometimes you learn as you're working with this that you're asking it to do things it just can't do, and you have to kind of find a different way to solve the same problem. So now, here's another shot. It looks like I kept things much simpler here. Let's take a look at this. So yeah, I just used, rather than a start and end frame, I used one shot here. I said a cinematic Steadicam shot of a man in a dark gray suit, nervously walking down the center aisle of a corporate cubicle. The camera pulls back at the pace of the man walking. The man is uncomfortable. His eyes nervously try not to make contact. And, the mood is tense and foreboding, ultra realistic. So this is a pretty good shot. And, the pace is a little slow. I think I probably sped this up in the final thing. But, that's not a bad generation. So we're going to go ahead and download that. Let's keep going. All right. So now I wanted my insert shot of the feet. And I think this was one of the moments when I was working on this project that I saw this generation and I was like, this is fantastic. So I really loved this generation. Again, super simple. I'm kind of recycling a lot of the prompts that I'm using. And don't forget, too, when you're doing these prompts, I would literally go into ChatGPT or Gemini and feed it an image and say, hey, I'm working with Kling AI. I'm using version 2.6. Can you help me create a prompt for this? And you can, don't forget, you can use AI to help you generate prompts. So I downloaded that one. Let's go ahead and keep going. This is another shot. This one looks really slow motion, but, again, I like the emotion. I like his eyes. I do sense that he's uncomfortable. I like that his eyes are kind of moving around. This is a great shot. This is a shot of a woman watching. That's a great look there at the end. And keep in mind that I said that's a close-up. It holds on her. So you control the camera movement. Now you will notice that occasionally it develops weird sound effects and weird noises in the background. Obviously when I put it in my project, I'll just mute that out. And then let's go ahead and look at our friend here. That was great. It's simple, it's subtle, but it really gets the idea across, so I like that a lot. Here's a shot of him walking from the back. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is when we get to here, this is not our character at all. And, keep in mind when you're working with image to video and you give it an image way back here, he doesn't, the machine, I call it he, the machine doesn't know what this character looks like because he's so far away. So what it's doing as it's bringing him up close, it's just guessing. So it's literally just guessing what he looks like. So he doesn't have the blue eyes, he's got a beard suddenly. So just know that that's something that we're dealing with here is that if you give it an image like that and then say, hey, walk to camera, it's not gonna know what that character looks like. And so it's gonna guess and you're gonna get issues like that. This is a great shot of him pulling back. I mean, that's pretty fantastic. So I did end up downloading that. And so, like anything, if you're directing real actors, I remember working with a director that called it natural variation, but you shoot it multiple times just to get different looks and different variations because you never know when an actor does something that's magical. In the same way with AI, you never know when it might make an adjustment or something that just goes, oh, that was a beautiful look or an awesome glance or sigh or something. So make sure you run them multiple times. So that's kind of the idea of Kling. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find a great variation of a start and end frame. Let's see here. I wanted to generate something where he walks into frame, but I couldn't just give it this image and be like, my hero walks into frame because it wouldn't know what my hero looks like. So what I did is I first generated this shot in, I think Gemini, Nano Banana. And then what I told Nano Banana to do is, hey, remove our hero. So now I have our beginning frame and our end frame. And so I put that into Kling using beginning frame and end frame and said, the man walks into the frame. So it's an empty frame and then it ends with that. And so that is perfect. And you can see here the prompt is actually fairly simple. And that's something that I found is I worked more and more with this program. My prompts became simpler and simpler. You saw early on in my early prompts, they were big and wordy and used a lot of things. As I got further into it, I realized a lot of what you're telling it is from the images, and then you give it basic instructions from the prompt. So a black man in a suit with striking blue eyes walks into frame and comes to a stop right in front of the Italian shop with a neon green sign. So that's how start and end frames work. All right, next we're gonna go into Veo 3, so let's take a look at that. Now we're gonna get into dialogue. This can be really fun, also frustrating. Something that I've noticed about Veo is that a lot of times it puts in music and score behind it. So in this moment here, let's see if I can get the full prompt. This is our image. It's of our, I guess I'll call him our villain, but he's the guy who develops the AI. And I want him to give dialogue. So the white man looks up slightly, the room's silent, no music in the background. and says with stern authority, "You're a program, Alex, and programs follow their programming." So let's see what it does.
You're a program, Alex, and programs follow their programming.
Okay, so the performance isn't bad. Obviously, it's got music in there, and the problem with the music is that if it's baked over the dialogue, now you're gonna have some issues as far as using your own music, and then also there's gonna be some like lack of continuity and stuff in there. So it looks like I'm gonna try another shot at it. So let's see here. Let's see what I put this time. I think I just tried the exact same prompt, and just because that's another thing I noticed is that sometimes you'll ask it for no music and it'll, comply, and then there's times it'll just put it in anyways.
You're a program, Alex, and programs follow their programming.
So, basically the same prompt, but different performance. I liked how he looked more to camera though. That was cool. Now, of course, it still had the music. So, now you get into just natural variation of just continuing to run it over and over again. You will run through, like in Kling, you'll run through a lot of credits doing this, but it's just a necessary part of the process. When I did Google, I had an unlimited generation. So, I didn't really have to worry too much about that. But let's go ahead and run it again.
You're a program, Alex, and programs follow their programming.
So boom, I love that. That one's good. Let's go full screen.
You're a program, Alex, and programs follow their programming.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, what's great about this one is that I love the eye line, and also there's no music in the background. So that is a very usable clip. So we're gonna go ahead and download that. So you can see now it's just I just did it a bunch of times just to get different performances.
You have to answer me, Alex. What can cook with chicken and broccoli?
So this is a new line. So I obviously was happy with this other one, and this is something that I did notice. Once in a while, you would get like a British accent. Like for example, if your line says exquisite or something like that, it'll always make him British. So this is a new line that's obviously not going to match. So now I asked it for an American accent. Let's see what it does.
You have to answer me, Alex. What can I cook with chicken and broccoli?
Okay, so there was some little bit of music at the front and back. Probably could cut that out. He had the American accent, but he looked way too angry in that. I didn't like that. So now it's like, I give it another prompt. The white man looks up slightly. The room's silent. No musical score in the background, as he says with a command to a subordinate. So not so angry this time, but just somebody who's in authority.
You have to answer me, Alex. What can I cook with chicken and broccoli?
Okay, so that's a better performance, but again, British again. So now similar thing, but this time with an American accent.
You have to answer me, Alex. What can I cook with chicken and broccoli?
So the performance is pretty good. Little music, and then also suddenly we have a person here. So I think I may have used this and then just cropped that person out. But let's take a look at one more.
You have to answer me, Alex. What can I cook with chicken and broccoli?
Nope, that's the one I used. There we go. Yeah, so you can see the idea.
You have to answer me, Alex.
There's just a lot of variations, a lot of fine tuning. But if you're patient, eventually you get it. And I love the little push they did here. I didn't ask for that. It did it.
What can I cook
but it was really cool. The eye line looks good. So that's kind of how it works. Okay, so now that you've created all these videos, you can take that back to your animatic that we created in the previous tutorial and cut this thing together. You can use things like 11 Labs for sound effects. You can use Suno for your musical score. And basically that will help you make an entire movie. I hope you enjoyed these tutorials. I hope you found them informative. And if you do use them to make a movie of your own, please comment with the link in the comment section down below. I'd love to see it. Good luck and happy shooting.